Hello everyone, you're on the channel Scary Story. Tonight I have a story for you that will make you double check your locks and maybe even question the familiar faces around you. It's a tale that starts with something ordinary, something we all take for granted, family dinner, and spirals into a nightmare from which there seems to be no waking. So, dim the lights, get comfortable, and prepare yourselves. This one is a chilling journey into the unknown. It was a Tuesday. I remember that because Tuesdays were taco nights. My mom, dad, and I would gather in the kitchen, the scent of seasoned ground beef and warm tortillas filling our small house. My older sister Clara was usually late. She was in her first year of college across town, and her evening classes often ran over, but she'd always text, "Running late, save me a plate," or "Stuck in traffic, be there soon." These messages were as reliable as the setting sun. But on this particular Tuesday, there was nothing. The clock on the stove ticked past 7, then 7:30. My dad, Mark, a man whose patience was usually as solid as an oak tree, started pacing. He glanced at his phone, then at the front door, then back at his phone. And my mom, Sarah, tried to keep the mood light. "She probably forgot to charge her phone again," she said, forcing a smile as she arranged the lettuce and cheese in their bowls for the 4th time. You know how she is. We did know. Clara was a whirlwind of creative chaos. Her room was a testament to her artistic spirit. Canvases leaning against walls, paintbrushes in jars, half-finished sculptures on her desk. She was brilliant and vibrant, but organization wasn't her strong suit. Forgetting to charge her phone was classic Clara. By 8 o'clock, the food was cold, and the silence in the house was heavy. My dad finally broke it. "I'm calling her friends." He stepped into the living room, his voice a low, urgent murmur as he dialed number after number. I could hear snippets of the conversations. "Have you seen Clara?" "No, not since yesterday's lecture. She was supposed to be here for dinner." With each call, the line in his brow deepened. My mom started calling the hospitals. Her voice, usually so calm and soothing, trembled with a fear she was trying desperately to hide. "I'm calling to inquire about a patient." "Clara Miller?" "No." "Thank you." She hung up, took a deep breath, and dialed the next one. I just sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty 4th chair, a cold knot tightening in my stomach. This was wrong. All of it. At 9:30, my dad called the police. The officer on the phone was polite but dismissive. "Sir, she's an adult. It's only been a few hours. She probably just went out with friends and forgot to tell you." It was the standard response, the one they give to every worried parent. But we knew Clara. She wouldn't do this, not without a word. They agreed to send a patrol car to her apartment just to do a wellness check. The wait for that call back felt like an eternity. When the phone finally rang, it was the officer. "We're at her apartment, sir. There's no answer, and the door is locked, no signs of forced entry. Her car is in the parking lot." My dad's shoulders slumped. "What does that mean?" he asked, his voice cracking. The officer's reply was detached, clinical. "It means we can't do anything else right now, sir. We'll file a missing person report, but we have to wait 24 hours before we can officially begin a search." 24 hours. It sounded like a life sentence. We spent that night in a daze. None of us slept. We just sat in the living room, the TV off, staring into the darkness, jumping at every sound. A car driving by, the wind rattling the window. Each noise was a spike of hope, quickly extinguished. The next day was a blur of frantic activity. We printed flyers with Clara's smiling face, her bright blue eyes looking out from the paper. "Missing!" The headline screamed in bold black letters. We plastered them on every telephone pole, every coffee shop window, every community bulletin board we could find. We called her college, her professors, anyone and everyone who might have seen her. The answer was always the same. She'd been in her morning class on Tuesday, but no one had seen her since. Days turned into a week. The police investigation was slow, procedural. They interviewed her friends, her ex-boyfriend, her professors. They searched her apartment again, this time with a warrant. They found her phone on the kitchen counter, dead. Her wallet and keys were there too. The only things missing were her, the clothes she was wearing, and her art portfolio. That last detail struck me as odd. Why would she take her portfolio? The media picked up the story. A brief flash on the local news. Our quiet suburban street was suddenly filled with news vans and reporters asking invasive questions. Was she unhappy? Did she have any enemies? Do you think she ran away? Each question was a fresh wound. Weeks turned into a month. The flyers we had posted started to fade and tear, Clara's smile weather-beaten and water-stained. The news cycle moved on. The police detective assigned to our case started returning our calls less frequently. The world, it seemed, was starting to forget. But we couldn't. How could we? Her empty room was a constant, silent scream. Her chair at the dinner table was a gaping void. One evening, about 2 months after she disappeared, I was in her room. I don't know why. I just needed to feel close to her. I sat on her bed, running my hand over the dusty canvases. That's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. Tucked behind her headboard, almost completely hidden, was a small black sketchbook. It wasn't one of her usual ones. This one was bound in leather, and it felt different, older. My hands trembled as I opened it. The first few pages were filled with her usual beautiful sketches. Portraits, landscapes, studies of light and shadow. But as I flipped further, the drawings changed. They became darker, more abstract. There were sketches of strange symbols, geometric shapes intertwined in ways that made my head spin. And there were faces, unsettling, gaunt faces with eyes that were too large and mouths that were stretched into silent screams. The last few pages were the most disturbing. There was a detailed drawing of a man. He was tall and thin, dressed in an old-fashioned suit. He had no face. Where his features should have been was just a smooth, blank surface. Beneath the drawing, in Clara's frantic handwriting, were a few sentences. He comes in the quiet. He promises inspiration. The colors are so beautiful. But the price is too high. He's taking me to his gallery. His gallery. The words echoed in my mind. What did that mean? Was this a real person? Or was this a product of her imagination? Some artistic metaphor I didn't understand. I showed the sketchbook to my parents. My mom burst into tears. My dad, however, grew very still. He stared at the drawing of the faceless man, his own face pale. He took the sketchbook and called the detective. His voice firm, demanding they look at this new evidence. The detective was skeptical, suggesting it was probably just part of an art project. But my dad insisted. He wouldn't let it go. For the first time in weeks, I saw a spark of the old fire in his eyes. The police reluctantly agreed to analyze the sketchbook. They found nothing. No fingerprints other than Clara's, no identifiable marks. The faceless man was a dead end. The symbols meant nothing to them. They filed the sketchbook away as inconclusive. To them, it was just another strange piece of a puzzle they couldn't solve. But I couldn't let it go. The gallery, the faceless man. It felt like a message, a desperate clue left behind. I started my own investigation, spending hours online, searching for anything related to faceless figures in art, hidden galleries, artists who had gone missing. I fell down rabbit hole after rabbit hole of urban legends and creepypastas. Most of it was fiction, but the fear it ignited was very real. One night, deep in some obscure art history forum, I found a post from years ago. It was from a user who claimed their brother, also an artist, had vanished under similar circumstances. He too had become obsessed with drawing a faceless man and talked about a special gallery just before he disappeared. The user mentioned a specific symbol their brother kept drawing, one of the same symbols from Clara's sketchbook. My heart pounded in my chest. This couldn't be a coincidence. I tried to contact the user, but the account had been inactive for years. The post, however, mentioned a name, an old, forgotten artist from the early 20th century named Silas Blackwood. He was known for his unsettling surrealist paintings before he, too, vanished without a trace. His most famous and final exhibition was titled The Gallery of the Unseen. A quick search for Silas Blackwood led me to articles about his strange life and even stranger art. He believed that true inspiration came from another dimension, and he claimed to have found a way to cross over and bring back images from the other side. He was dismissed as an eccentric madman. But then I found it, a grainy, black and white photograph of Blackwood standing next to one of his paintings. The painting depicted a tall, thin figure in a suit. its face a complete blank, the faceless man from Clara's sketchbook. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature in the room. This was real, this faceless man, this gallery. It was all connected to this long-dead artist. But how? And more importantly, where was Clara? I don't have the answers yet. The police still see a cold case. My parents are trying to hold on to a sliver of hope, but I see the light dimming in their eyes every day. But I'm not giving up. I have the sketchbook. I have the name Silas Blackwood. And I have the chilling certainty that my sister isn't just missing. She was taken. Taken by something that waits in the quiet, that promises inspiration, and that leads artists to a gallery from which they never return. I will find that gallery. I have to. Because somewhere, in a place beyond our understanding, my sister is waiting for me to bring her home. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever heard of anything like this, anything about Silas Blackwood or the Gallery of the Unseen, please let me know. Stay safe out there and be careful what you create. Sometimes the muse that inspires you is not what it seems. Remember to follow our channel for more tales from the shadows. Until next time.